The discovery officer, Marcus Thompson, had been patrolling the quieter neighborhoods of Cedar Falls for over 12 years, but nothing could have prepared him for what he would encounter on that cold November morning. His German Shepherd partner, Rex, sat alertly in the passenger seat of the patrol car. His ears perked up as they drove through the residential area, known for its modest homes and tight-knit community. The call had come in around 8:30 a.m. from Mrs. Eleanor Hartwell, an elderly woman who lived alone at the end of Maple Street. Her voice trembled over the radio as she reported strange sounds coming from the abandoned house next door, sounds that kept her awake at night. The property had been empty for months after the previous owners moved out suddenly, leaving behind overgrown grass and boarded windows that gave the place an eerie atmosphere. As Marcus pulled up to the address, Rex immediately became restless. The dog's nose twitched and a low whine escaped his throat. Marcus had learned to trust his partner's instincts completely over their 5 years working together. Rex had an uncanny ability to sense things that human senses couldn't detect, and his behavior now suggested something was seriously wrong. The house stood like a forgotten relic among the well-maintained properties on either side. Paint peeled from its wooden siding, and the small front porch sagged under the weight of neglect. What struck Marcus most was the complete silence surrounding the place, broken only by the distant sound of children playing in a nearby yard. The contrast felt unsettling. Mrs. Hartwell appeared at her front door, wrapping a faded floral robe tightly around her thin frame. Her gray hair was disheveled, and dark circles under her eyes spoke of many sleepless nights. She hurried over to the fence separating her property from the abandoned house, her slippers shuffling against the concrete walkway. "Officer, thank goodness you're here," she whispered, glancing nervously at the boarded windows. "I've been hearing crying at night, sometimes during the day too. It sounds like children, but everyone says the place has been empty for months. I thought maybe it was cats or something, but Rex here seems to think otherwise." As if responding to his name, Rex jumped out of the patrol car and immediately began pacing along the property line. His tail was rigid, and he kept looking back at Marcus with an intensity that spoke volumes. The dog's behavior confirmed what Mrs. Hartwell suspected. There was definitely something alive inside that house. Marcus approached the front door cautiously, noting that while most windows were boarded up, some of the boards appeared loose. The front door itself looked solid, but as he examined it closer, he noticed fresh scratches around the lock area. Someone had been going in and out of this supposedly abandoned property. "Mrs. Hartwell, how long have you been hearing these sounds?" Marcus asked, pulling out his notepad. "About 3 weeks now," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "At first I thought it was just the wind or maybe animals, but then I heard what sounded like voices. Young voices. Crying mostly. It breaks my heart, Officer Thompson." Rex had moved to the back of the house and was now pawing at something near a basement window. His whining had become more urgent, and he kept looking back at Marcus as if trying to communicate something important. Marcus decided to investigate what had captured his partner's attention. The basement window was partially hidden by overgrown shrubs, but Rex had managed to clear away some of the vegetation. What Marcus saw made his stomach drop. There were small handprints on the glass, smudged and desperate looking, as if someone had been trying to get attention from inside. "Rex, back up, boy," Marcus commanded gently, pulling out his flashlight to get a better look. The beam revealed more than handprints. There were words scratched into the dirt beneath the window. "Help us" was barely visible, written in what appeared to be small, shaky letters. The officer's training kicked in immediately. This was no longer a routine call about strange noises. This was potentially a rescue situation, and time was critical. He radioed for backup while Rex continued to circle the house, stopping frequently to sniff at various points where the scent seemed strongest. As Marcus waited for additional units to arrive, he conducted a thorough exterior examination of the property. The back door showed signs of recent use, with muddy footprints leading to and from the entrance. A small pile of empty food containers and water bottles sat hidden behind a garbage can, suggesting someone had been bringing supplies to whoever was inside. The most disturbing discovery came when Marcus noticed a small piece of fabric caught on a nail near the back door. It appeared to be from a child's clothing, a bright yellow material that stood out starkly against the weathered wood. Rex immediately focused on this piece of evidence, his nose working overtime to process the scents surrounding it. Mrs. Hartwell had followed them around to the back of the house, staying at a respectful distance but clearly worried about what they might find. "Officer, those sounds I've been hearing, they're not just crying. Sometimes it sounds like whimpering, like something or someone is in pain. I should have called sooner, but I wasn't sure if anyone would believe me." "You did the right thing calling now," Marcus assured her, though his mind was racing with possibilities, none of them good. The evidence was mounting that children were being held inside this house, and their condition was likely desperate. As the first backup unit arrived, Rex suddenly froze near the basement window where they had first seen the handprints. His ears shot up and he pressed his nose against the glass. From inside, barely audible, came the sound that had been haunting Mrs. Hartwell's nights, the soft crying of what sounded like very young children. Marcus felt his protective instincts surge as he realized they were dealing with a situation that would require delicate handling. Whatever was happening inside that house, innocent lives hung in the balance. He looked down at Rex, whose intelligent brown eyes seemed to reflect the same sense of urgency and determination that was building in his own chest. The officer knew that the next few hours would test everything he had learned about crisis management, child welfare, and working with his canine partner. But as he prepared to enter the house and face whatever horrors awaited inside, Marcus felt grateful that he wasn't going in alone. Rex had proven time and again that he could sense things beyond human perception, and today, that gift might be the key to saving lives. The stage was set for a rescue operation that would challenge everyone involved, but also had the potential to transform lives in ways none of them could yet imagine. The rescue. The backup officers arrived within minutes, but to Marcus it felt like hours. Detective Sarah Chen and Officer Jake Rodriguez approached with the serious expressions of professionals who understood they were walking into a potentially volatile situation. Rex remained focused on the basement window, occasionally letting out soft whines that seemed to match the crying sounds from within. "What do we have, Marcus?" Detective Chen asked, pulling on latex gloves as she surveyed the scene. Her 15 years of experience with child protective cases had taught her to expect the worst while hoping for something better. Marcus quickly briefed his colleagues on the evidence they had gathered, the handprints, the scratched message, the food containers, and most importantly, the sounds that Rex had helped them locate. As he spoke, the crying from inside the house seemed to intensify, as if the children somehow sensed that help was near. "We need to approach this carefully," Detective Chen said, examining the basement window. "If there are children inside, we don't want to traumatize them further by breaking down doors." Rex seems to have pinpointed their location, so let's see if we can make contact through this window. Officer Rodriguez had already begun working on the loose boards covering other windows, while Marcus knelt beside the basement window where Rex stood guard. The dog's protective stance and focused attention made it clear that this was ground zero for whatever crisis was unfolding inside. Marcus tapped gently on the glass, calling out in the softest voice he could manage while still being heard. "Hello, is someone there? My name is Marcus, and I'm a police officer. I'm here to help you." The crying stopped immediately, replaced by a silence that was somehow even more heartbreaking. Then, after what felt like an eternity, a small voice whispered back, so faint that Marcus had to press his ear against the window to hear it. "Are you real?" the voice asked. It was clearly a child, probably very young, and the question sent chills down Marcus's spine. What had these children endured that made them question whether rescue was real? "Yes, I'm real," Marcus replied, his voice thick with emotion. "I have my dog Rex with me, and we're going to get you out of there." "Are you hurt? How many of you are there?" "Two," came the whispered reply. "Me and my sister. We're really hungry, and she's sick. The man said nobody would ever find us." Rex seemed to understand that they were making progress. He lay down beside the window, pressing his body against the house as if trying to offer comfort to whoever was inside. His calm presence seemed to have an effect because the voice continued, slightly stronger now. "Your dog is nice. We can hear him breathing. We like dogs." Detective Chen had been coordinating with child services and medical personnel while Marcus established contact. She approached the window carefully, not wanting to overwhelm the children with too many voices at once. "What are your names, sweethearts?" she asked gently. "I'm Emma, and this is my sister Lily. She's only 4 and I'm 6. We've been here for a long time. Are you going to take us home?" The simplicity of the question and the hope in Emma's voice nearly broke Marcus's heart. These children had maintained their faith that someone would eventually find them, despite whatever horrors they had endured. Officer Rodriguez had successfully removed boards from a basement door at the side of the house. The lock was old and rusty, and after checking that no one was guarding the entrance from inside, he was able to force it open with minimal noise. "Emma, we're coming inside to get you and Lily," Marcus called through the window. "Rex and I are going to come down and help you, okay? Don't be scared." As the officers entered the basement, their flashlights revealed a scene that would haunt them for years to come. The basement had been converted into a makeshift prison. Mattresses lay on the concrete floor, surrounded by empty food cans, water bottles, and a bucket that served as a bathroom. The smell was overwhelming, a mixture of mold, human waste, and desperation. In the far corner, two small figures huddled together on one of the mattresses. Emma, the older sister, had her arms wrapped protectively around Lily, who appeared to be sleeping or unconscious. Both children were painfully thin, their clothes hanging loosely on frames that spoke of prolonged malnutrition. Rex immediately went to work, approaching the children slowly with his tail wagging gently. His training in comfort and therapy work kicked in as he sensed their fear and vulnerability. Emma's eyes widened as she saw the large German shepherd, but instead of fear, her face showed wonder. "He's beautiful," she whispered, reaching out a trembling hand to touch Rex's fur. "Lily, wake up. The nice policeman brought his dog, just like I told you he would." Marcus had to fight back tears as he knelt beside the children. Lily stirred slightly, opening eyes that were far too old for her 4-year-old face. She looked at Rex and managed a tiny smile, the first sign of joy that had probably crossed her features in months. "Hi, Emma." "Hi, Lily. I'm Marcus, and this is Rex. We're going to take you somewhere safe where you'll have food and warm beds and people who will take care of you." Detective Chen was already on her radio, calling for immediate medical attention. Both children showed signs of severe malnutrition and dehydration. Lily's breathing was shallow and her skin had a grayish pallor that indicated serious health issues. As they prepared to move the children, Emma grabbed Marcus's sleeve with surprising strength for someone so frail. "Officer Marcus, will Rex come with us? We don't want to be alone anymore." "Rex and I will stay with you until we know you're safe," Marcus promised. "He's very good with children, and I think he likes you two very much." As if to confirm this, Rex gently licked Lily's hand, causing the little girl to giggle, a sound so pure and innocent that it seemed to cleanse some of the darkness from that horrible basement. The rescue operation continued with careful precision. Medical personnel arrived and began assessing the children while Marcus and Rex provided emotional support. The children refused to be separated, clinging to each other and to the comfort that Rex provided. Detective Chen was already working on tracking down the person responsible for this imprisonment. The evidence they found in the basement, combined with the children's eventual testimony, would build a case that would ensure justice was served. But for now, the focus was on getting Emma and Lily the medical attention they desperately needed, and beginning the long process of healing from whatever trauma they had endured. As they carried the children up from that dark basement into the sunlight, Rex walked alongside them, his protective instincts in full gear. Mrs. Hartwell stood at her fence, tears streaming down her face as she watched the rescue unfold. Her decision to call for help had saved 2 young lives, and the weight of that responsibility and relief was overwhelming. The ambulance doors closed with Emma, Lily, Marcus, and Rex inside. The children had insisted that their rescuers stay with them, and no one had the heart to refuse. As they headed to the hospital, Marcus realized that this was just the beginning of a journey that would transform all their lives in ways they couldn't yet imagine. The hospital and investigations, Cedar Falls General Hospital, had seen its share of difficult cases, but the arrival of Emma and Lily sent ripples of concern throughout the pediatric ward. Dr. Amanda Foster, the head of pediatric medicine, had been called in specifically for this case after Detective Chen explained the circumstances of the rescue. Marcus and Rex waited in the family consultation room while the medical team conducted their initial examination of the children. Through the window, Marcus could see nurses moving with practiced efficiency, but their faces carried an unusual gravity that spoke to the severity of the situation. Rex lay at Marcus's feet, but his attention remained focused on the direction of the examination rooms. The dog's emotional intelligence seemed to understand that his new young friends were in distress, even though he couldn't see them. Every few minutes he would lift his head and look toward the hallway, as if checking to make sure they were still nearby. Dr. Foster emerged after what felt like hours, but was actually only 45 minutes. Her expression was professional, but tinged with the kind of anger that medical professionals develop when they see preventable suffering. "Officer Thompson, I need to give you an update on the children's condition," she began, settling into a chair across from Marcus. "Both Emma and Lily are severely malnourished and dehydrated. Lily, the younger one, has developed pneumonia, which is why she was so lethargic when you found them. Emma has been trying to care for her sister, which probably saved Lily's life." Marcus felt his jaw clench as he processed the medical details. "How long do you estimate they were held in those conditions?" "Based on their physical condition and what Emma has been able to tell us, we believe it's been at least 3 months, possibly longer. The remarkable thing is their resilience. Emma in particular has shown incredible strength in protecting her sister." As if summoned by their conversation, Emma appeared in the doorway of the consultation room. She was wearing a hospital gown that was far too large for her tiny frame, and her feet were bare against the cold linoleum floor. Her eyes immediately found Rex, and her face lit up with the first genuine smile Marcus had seen from her. "Rex," she called softly, and the German shepherd immediately went to her, tail wagging gently. She buried her face in his fur, and Marcus could see her shoulders relax for the first time since they had found her. "Emma, you should be resting," Dr. Foster said kindly. "The nurses are looking for you." "I wanted to make sure Rex was still here," Emma replied, not lifting her head from the dog's neck. "I was scared you might have to leave." Marcus knelt beside her, bringing himself to her eye level. "Emma, Rex, and I aren't going anywhere until we know you and Lily are okay. I promise." The little girl studied his face with the serious expression of someone who had learned not to trust adult promises easily. Whatever she saw there must have satisfied her, because she nodded and allowed Dr. Foster to escort her back to her room, with Rex walking alongside them. While the medical team continued their work, Detective Chen had been busy piecing together the investigation. The abandoned house had yielded a treasure trove of evidence, including fingerprints, DNA samples, and personal items that would help identify the perpetrator. Marcus joined Chen back at the house, where the crime scene investigation was in full swing. The basement that had been Emma and Lily's prison was now cordoned off with yellow tape, and forensic specialists were methodically documenting every detail. "What have you found?" Marcus asked, though part of him dreaded hearing the answer. "More than enough to put whoever did this away for life," Chen replied grimly. "We've got clear fingerprints on the food containers, DNA evidence, and Emma has been able to give us some details about the man who brought them here. According to Emma's initial statement, a man had approached them at a playground near their home, while their mother was distracted by a phone call. He had claimed to know their family and offered them candy and a ride to see some puppies. By the time their mother realized they were missing, the children were already locked in the basement of the abandoned house. "The mother has been contacted?" Marcus asked. "That's where it gets complicated," Chen sighed. "Margaret Collins, the children's mother, reported them missing 3 months ago. She's been working with police in the next county where they lived. Apparently there was some confusion about jurisdiction, and the case didn't get the attention it deserved initially. The news hit Marcus hard. These children had been missing for 3 months, with their mother frantically searching for them, while they suffered in a basement just 20 miles from their home. The system had failed them, but somehow Mrs. Hartwell's sleepless nights and Rex's keen instincts had succeeded where official channels had fallen short. Back at the hospital, a reunion was taking place that would become one of the most emotional moments in Marcus's career. Margaret Collins had driven through the night to reach her daughters, and her arrival at the hospital brought both overwhelming relief and devastating guilt. Marcus and Rex were in Emma's room when Margaret arrived. The woman looked like she had aged years in the 3 months since her daughters disappeared. Her eyes were red from crying, her clothes wrinkled from the long drive, and her hands shook as she approached Emma's bed. "Mommy?" Emma whispered, as if afraid that believing might make the vision disappear. "Oh, my baby," Margaret sobbed, gently gathering Emma into her arms. "I never stopped looking for you. I never stopped believing I would find you." Rex, sensing the emotional intensity of the moment, positioned himself beside the bed where he could watch over both mother and daughter. His presence seemed to provide comfort to everyone in the room, a calming influence in a situation charged with powerful emotions. Lily was still sleeping in the next room, her condition requiring close monitoring as she fought off the pneumonia. Dr. Foster had assured everyone that with proper treatment, she would make a full recovery, but it would take time and patience. As Margaret held Emma, the little girl began to share details about their captivity that would prove crucial to the investigation. She described the man who had taken them, his routine of bringing food every few days, and his threats about what would happen if they tried to escape or make noise. He said nobody would ever find us because nobody cared enough to look, Emma told her mother. But Rex found us. He knew we were there even when we couldn't make noise. Marcus felt a surge of pride in his partner, but also a renewed sense of purpose. This case had shown him how crucial the bond between officer and K-9 could be, not just in solving crimes but in providing comfort and hope to victims. Detective Chen arrived at the hospital with news that would close this chapter of the investigation. "We've identified our suspect," she announced. Robert Kellerman, a registered sex offender who was supposed to be living in a halfway house across town. He violated his parole conditions and has been hiding out in various abandoned properties. The pieces were falling into place, but Marcus knew that the real work was just beginning. Emma and Lily would need extensive therapy and support to overcome the trauma they had experienced. Their mother would need help coping with the guilt and fear that had consumed her during their disappearance. And somehow, in the middle of all this human tragedy and resilience, Rex had become a symbol of hope. The children asked for him constantly, and the hospital staff had made the unusual decision to allow him extended visits, recognizing his therapeutic value. As Marcus prepared to leave the hospital that evening, Emma called out to him from her bed. "Officer Marcus, when we go home, can Rex visit us sometimes? I want to show him my room and introduce him to my stuffed animals." "I think Rex would like that very much," Marcus replied, realizing that this case had created bonds that would last far beyond the investigation and trial that lay ahead. The legal battle and recovery. 3 weeks after the rescue, Emma and Lily Collins were finally strong enough to be discharged from the hospital. Their recovery had been remarkable, thanks in large part to the dedicated medical staff and the frequent visits from Marcus and Rex. The children had gained weight. Their color had returned to normal, and perhaps most importantly, their spirits were beginning to heal. Margaret Collins had barely left the hospital during her daughter's stay, sleeping in uncomfortable chairs and eating cafeteria food, but she wouldn't have been anywhere else. The guilt she carried over losing track of her children for those few crucial moments at the playground was something she worked through with the hospital's trauma counselor, Dr. Jennifer Walsh. "Recovery isn't just physical," Dr. Walsh explained to Margaret during one of their sessions. "Emma and Lily will need ongoing support to process what happened to them. The good news is that children are remarkably resilient, and they have each other and you to help them through this." Rex had become an unofficial therapy dog during the girls' hospital stay. The nursing staff had never seen anything quite like the bond that had formed between the German Shepherd and the two survivors. Emma would read to Rex from picture books provided by the hospital, while Lily, still recovering from her pneumonia, would simply rest her small hand on his fur while she slept. District Attorney Patricia Morrison had taken personal charge of the prosecution against Robert Kellerman. The evidence was overwhelming. DNA, fingerprints, and the children's testimony painted a clear picture of kidnapping, false imprisonment, and child endangerment. But Morrison knew that cases involving child victims required delicate handling to avoid further traumatizing the survivors. "We want to make sure Emma and Lily don't have to relive their ordeal, any more than absolutely necessary," Morrison explained to Marcus during a pre-trial meeting. "Your testimony and Rex's role in the discovery will be crucial, but we also need to prepare the children for what lies ahead." The legal proceedings were complicated by Kellerman's attempt to claim mental incompetency. His defense attorney, David Brennan, argued that his client's previous mental health issues and substance abuse problems should be considered mitigating factors. This strategy infuriated everyone involved in the rescue and care of the children. Marcus found himself spending more and more time with the Collins family as they prepared for the trial. What had started as professional duty had evolved into something deeper, a genuine care for these children who had shown such incredible courage in the face of unimaginable circumstances. The Collins family lived in a modest, two-bedroom apartment, about 30 minutes from Cedar Falls. Margaret worked as a nurse at a local clinic, a job that required her to work long hours but provided the flexibility she needed to care for her daughters. The apartment was small but filled with love, and Emma and Lily had slowly begun to reclaim their childhood within its walls. Rex's visits to their home became a weekly tradition. Marcus would bring his partner over on Saturday afternoons, and the children would spend hours playing with him in the small backyard behind their apartment building. These visits served multiple purposes. They helped the children continue their emotional healing, they strengthened the bond between the family and their rescuers, and they provided Rex with the socialization that would make him an even better therapy and rescue dog. During one of these visits, Emma made a request that surprised everyone. "Officer Marcus, could you teach me how to train dogs like Rex? When I grow up, I want to help find lost children too." The simple statement revealed how profoundly the experience had affected Emma's outlook on life. Rather than being crushed by trauma, she was channeling her experience into a desire to help others. Marcus was moved by her resilience and began bringing age-appropriate books about dog training and police work for her to read. Lily, being younger, processed her experience differently. She had periods of nightmares and clingy behavior, but she also showed remarkable moments of joy and playfulness. Rex seemed to sense when she needed comfort most, often positioning himself near her during the difficult moments and engaging in gentle play when she was ready for interaction. The trial began on a cold January morning, nearly 3 months after the rescue. The courthouse was packed with supporters of the Collins family, including Mrs. Hartwell, who had become something of a local hero for her role in alerting authorities. Marcus had arranged for Rex to be present during his testimony, both as evidence and as a comfort to the children who would have to face their captor in court. Emma's testimony was scheduled for the second day of the trial. Despite her young age, she demonstrated remarkable composure as she described the events leading up to her and Lily's disappearance. She spoke clearly about the man who had approached them at the playground, his false promises about puppies, and the reality of their imprisonment in the basement. "He told us that nobody was looking for us," Emma testified, her voice steady despite the tears in her eyes. "But I knew that wasn't true. I knew Mommy was looking, and I knew somebody would find us eventually. When Officer Marcus and Rex came, I wasn't surprised. I was just happy." Rex was allowed to remain in the courtroom during Emma's testimony, and his calming presence was evident to everyone present. When Emma became emotional while describing the worst moments of their captivity, Rex would shift position slightly, drawing her attention and providing the stability she needed to continue. Lily was deemed too young to testify, but the medical evidence in Emma's account provided more than enough evidence to convict Kellerman. The defense's attempts to portray him as a victim of his own mental illness fell flat in the face of the careful planning and deliberate cruelty he had shown in holding the children captive. During the trial, more details emerged about the conditions the children had endured. Kellerman had kept them in near constant darkness, provided minimal food and water, and used psychological manipulation to prevent them from trying to escape. The fact that they had survived it all was testament to Emma's protective instincts toward her younger sister and both children's incredible will to live. Marcus's testimony focused on the rescue operation and Rex's crucial role in locating the children. He described his partner's behavior at the scene, the way Rex had immediately focused on the basement window, and how his presence had helped the children trust their rescuers. Rex didn't just find Emma and Lily, Marcus told the court. He gave them hope. He showed them that someone cared enough to bring their best resources to find them. In many ways, he saved their lives as much as the medical team did. The jury deliberated for less than 4 hours before returning a guilty verdict on all charges. Kellerman was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, a sentence that brought relief to the Collins family and everyone who had been involved in the case. Outside the courthouse, Margaret Collins held her daughters close while Marcus and Rex stood nearby. The media attention had been intense, but the family had handled it with grace and dignity, using their platform to advocate for missing children and the resources needed to find them. "We can finally put this behind us," Margaret said to Marcus. "But we'll never forget what you and Rex did for us. You gave us our lives back." As they walked away from the courthouse that day, Emma ran back to give Rex one more hug. "Thank you for finding us," she whispered into his fur. "Thank you for not giving up." The legal chapter of their story was closed, but Marcus knew that the healing journey would continue for years to come. The Collins family had shown incredible strength in surviving their ordeal and seeking justice. But the real victory lay in their determination to rebuild their lives and help others in similar situations. New beginnings and unexpected changes. 6 months after the trial ended, the Collins family had settled into a new routine that balanced healing with moving forward. Emma had returned to school where she excelled in her studies and had become something of a celebrity among her classmates for her bravery. Lily, now 5 years old, was attending kindergarten and had made several friends who knew nothing about her traumatic past. Margaret had made the difficult decision to relocate the family to Cedar Falls, closer to the support system they had developed during their recovery. The move meant starting over professionally and personally, but the benefits far outweighed the challenges. They now lived in a small house with a fenced backyard, perfect for the Saturday visits from Marcus and Rex that had become such an important part of their healing process. Marcus found himself deeply invested in the family's continued recovery. His relationship with Emma and Lily had evolved far beyond the professional obligation he initially felt. They had become like nieces to him, and he discovered that their presence in his life filled a void he hadn't realized existed. Rex, too, had been transformed by the experience. The German Shepherd had always been an excellent working dog, but his interactions with the Collins children had awakened a therapeutic side to his personality. He seemed to instinctively understand when Emma was having a difficult day with nightmares or when Lily needed extra comfort during thunderstorms that reminded her of the dark basement. The Cedar Falls Police Department had taken notice of Rex's unique abilities and had begun exploring the possibility of expanding their K-9 program to include therapy work. Captain Robert Hayes, Marcus's supervisor, had seen firsthand how effective Rex had been with the Collins children and other crime victims they had encountered since the rescue. "Marcus, I've been thinking about this for months," Captain Hayes said during one of their monthly reviews. "Rex has shown remarkable talent for victim support work. Have you considered getting him certified as a therapy dog in addition to his police duties?" The suggestion intrigued Marcus. He had watched Rex's natural ability to provide comfort and support, and the idea of formalizing that training appealed to him. It would mean additional education and certification for both of them, but it could also expand their ability to help people in their most vulnerable moments. Emma's interest in dog training had continued to grow, and Marcus had begun including her in some basic training exercises with Rex during their visits. She had a natural affinity for working with the German Shepherd and demonstrated an intuitive understanding of dog behavior that impressed Marcus. "Emma, have you thought about what you want to be when you grow up?" Marcus asked during one of their Saturday afternoon sessions. "I want to be like you," she replied without hesitation. "I want to help find lost children and have a dog partner like Rex. But I also want to help the children feel better after they're found, like Dr. Walsh helped us." Her answer revealed a sophisticated understanding of the full cycle of rescue and recovery. Emma had experienced both the trauma of victimization and the healing power of professional support, and she wanted to be part of providing both for others. Margaret had been watching her daughter's interactions with Marcus and Rex with growing appreciation. The positive male role model that Marcus provided had been crucial in Emma's recovery, helping her rebuild trust in adults after Kellerman's betrayal. She had often wondered how to express her gratitude for everything Marcus had done for her family. The opportunity came unexpectedly when Marcus mentioned that he was looking for a new apartment. His lease was ending, and he was having trouble finding a place that would accommodate Rex and provide the space they both needed. "Marcus, I know this might sound crazy," Margaret said during one of their conversations, "but we have that extra room since we moved to the bigger house. Emma and Lily would love having you and Rex closer, and frankly, I would feel safer knowing you were nearby." The suggestion caught Marcus off guard. He had been a bachelor for his entire adult life, focused on his career and his partnership with Rex, but the Collins family had become so important to him that the idea of being closer to them held tremendous appeal. After several conversations and careful consideration, they decided to try the arrangement. Marcus would rent the extra room in the converted garage space for Rex, providing him with affordable housing, while giving the Collins family additional security and support. The living arrangement proved to be beneficial for everyone involved. Emma and Lily had daily access to Rex, which continued to support their emotional healing. Margaret had help with household responsibilities and childcare, allowing her to focus on rebuilding her career. And Marcus discovered the joys of family life while maintaining his independence and professional responsibilities. Rex adapted to the new living situation with his characteristic intelligence and flexibility. The German Shepherd seemed to understand that his role had expanded beyond police work to include being a guardian and companion to the Collins family. He would patrol the house each night before settling down, ensuring that everyone was safe and secure. The arrangement also allowed Marcus to observe the children's continued recovery more closely. Emma occasionally experienced nightmares that would leave her frightened and unable to return to sleep. During these episodes, Rex would quietly make his way to her room and position himself beside her bed, providing the comfort and security she needed to rest peacefully. Lily had developed a bedtime routine that included reading a story to Rex before going to sleep. Her reading skills had improved dramatically since starting kindergarten, and she took pride in sharing her new abilities with her favorite canine audience. Rex would lie patiently beside her bed, occasionally offering an encouraging tail wag when she successfully navigated a difficult word. Margaret found herself marveling at how natural the expanded family arrangement felt. Marcus helped with everything from homework supervision to household maintenance, while Rex provided security and companionship that benefited everyone. What had started as a practical solution to housing needs had evolved into something that resembled a real family unit. The transformation wasn't without its challenges. Marcus had to learn to balance his work schedule with family responsibilities, and there were times when his police duties conflicted with family activities. But the Collins family understood the importance of his work, especially given how it had brought them together in the first place. One evening, while helping Emma with a school project about heroes, Marcus realized how much his own perspective on life had changed. Before meeting the Collins family, his world had been defined by work, duty, and his partnership with Rex. Now, he found meaning in helping with homework, attending school events, and simply being present for the daily moments that make up family life. Emma's school project had focused on everyday heroes, and she had chosen to write about Mrs. Hartwell, the neighbor whose vigilance had led to their rescue. As part of the project, they arranged a visit with the elderly woman who had become something of a local celebrity since the trial. Mrs. Hartwell welcomed them into her home with tea and cookies, delighted to see how well the children were doing. Her decision to call the police that November morning had changed multiple lives, and she took quiet pride in the role she had played in their rescue. "I still think about that morning," Mrs. Hartwell told them as they sat in her living room. "I almost didn't call because I wasn't sure anyone would believe me, but something in my heart said those sounds weren't normal, and I'm so grateful I listened to that feeling." Emma hugged the elderly woman tightly, a gesture that brought tears to everyone's eyes. "You saved us, Mrs. Hartwell. You and Officer Marcus and Rex, you're all heroes." The visit reinforced for Marcus how many people had played crucial roles in the rescue and recovery process. From Mrs. Hartwell's initial call to the medical staff who treated the children, from Detective Chen's investigation to Dr. Walsh's therapy sessions, it had taken a community to heal the damage that one person had inflicted. As spring turned into summer, the Cedar Falls Police Department officially launched their new victim support program, with Marcus and Rex as the pilot team. They received specialized training in trauma-informed care and therapy dog protocols, expanding their ability to help crime victims beyond just the initial rescue and investigation phases. Their first official case involved a 7-year-old boy who had witnessed domestic violence and was too traumatized to speak to investigators. Rex's gentle presence and Marcus's patient approach, informed by his experience with Emma and Lily, helped the child feel safe enough to provide the testimony needed to protect him and his mother from further abuse. Emma watched these developments with intense interest, often asking Marcus about his cases and how Rex helped different victims. Her own experience had given her unique insights into what traumatized children needed, and Marcus found her observations remarkably perceptive. "When I was scared in the basement, I used to imagine having a dog like Rex to protect me," Emma told Marcus one evening. Now I know that there are other children who are scared and Rex really can help them. That makes me happy." Her words reminded Marcus of why their work was so important and how their personal experience had enhanced their profession. Full circle and new purpose. The community center in Cedar Falls had never hosted an event quite like the one Margaret Collins organized for the first anniversary of her daughter's rescue. What began as a simple thank you gathering had evolved into a fundraising event for missing children's organizations, and a celebration of community, resilience that drew attendees from across the region. Emma and Lily had insisted on helping with every aspect of the planning, from choosing decorations to writing thank you notes for the volunteers. Their enthusiasm and joy were infectious, inspiring everyone involved to make the event something truly special. The transformation in both girls over the past year was remarkable. They had grown not just physically but emotionally, becoming confident, compassionate children who understood the power of community support. Marcus stood at the back of the decorated community center, watching the crowd gather to celebrate what had become known locally as the Miracle on Maple Street. Rex sat beside him, wearing a special collar with a small medal that recognized his service to the community. The German Shepherd surveyed the room with the calm confidence of a dog who understood his important role in the lives of everyone present. Mrs. Hartwell had been given a place of honor at the front of the room, and she beamed with pride as children and adults alike approached to thank her for her vigilance and courage. At 82 years old, she had never imagined that her decision to call the police would lead to such a significant impact on her community, but she embraced her role as a local hero with grace and humility. "Ladies and gentlemen," Margaret began, addressing the crowd from a small stage at the front of the room. "1 year ago, my daughters Emma and Lily were lost to us, trapped in darkness and fear. Today they stand before you as bright, healthy, happy children because this community refused to give up on them." The audience included familiar faces from the rescue and recovery process. Detective Chen, Dr. Foster, Dr. Walsh, Captain Hayes, and dozens of others who had played roles both large and small in bringing the girls home and helping them heal. But it also included new faces, people who had been inspired by the story and wanted to support efforts to help other missing children. Emma approached the microphone with the confidence of a child who had learned that her voice mattered. Over the past year, she had become something of a spokesperson for missing children's issues, speaking at school assemblies and community events about the importance of stranger safety and community vigilance. "I want to thank everyone who helped save me and my sister," Emma said, her clear voice carrying throughout the room. "But I also want to tell you about something important. There are other children who are still lost, still scared, still waiting for someone like Officer Marcus and Rex to find them. That's why we're here tonight, to help make sure every lost child gets found." Her words brought tears to many eyes, but also inspired a sense of purpose that would drive the evening's fundraising efforts. The Collins family had decided to establish a foundation dedicated to supporting search efforts for missing children and providing therapy resources for survivors and their families. Lily, now 6 and much more outgoing than she had been immediately after the rescue, had prepared a special presentation about Rex's role in their rescue and recovery. She had created a poster showing Rex in various situations, finding them in the basement, visiting them in the hospital, playing with them at home, and working with other children who needed help. "Rex is the best dog in the whole world," Lily announced to the applauding crowd. "He found us when we were lost, and now he helps other children who are scared. I think every police officer should have a dog like Rex." Her innocent suggestion actually reflected a sophisticated understanding of the impact that therapy-trained police dogs could have on victim support. Marcus had been working with Captain Hayes to expand the K9 program based on the success they had experienced with Rex, and Lily's endorsement carried the weight of personal experience. Detective Chen took the stage to provide an update on the broader impact of the Collins case. The investigation had led to the identification of other potential victims and had resulted in policy changes that improved coordination between law enforcement agencies when children went missing across jurisdictional boundaries. The rescue of Emma and Lily wasn't just a success story for one family, Chen explained. It became a catalyst for improvements in how we search for missing children and support their recovery. Their courage in sharing their story has helped us prevent other tragedies and improve our response when children are in danger. Dr. Walsh spoke about the importance of ongoing mental health support for trauma survivors, using Emma and Lily's recovery as an example of what was possible with proper resources and community support. She announced that the Collins Foundation would fund therapy services for other families dealing with similar traumas, ensuring that economic barriers wouldn't prevent children from getting the help they needed. The highlight of the evening came when Marcus was invited to speak about the partnership between police officers and their canine companions. He had initially been reluctant to take the stage, preferring to let others receive recognition for their roles in the rescue and recovery process. But Emma and Lily had insisted that he and Rex be recognized for their ongoing commitment to the family and the community. When I became a police officer, I thought my job was to catch bad guys and solve crimes, Marcus began, looking out at the crowd that included his extended family. Rex and I were good at that work, but meeting Emma and Lily taught us that our real purpose is to help people heal and rebuild their lives after trauma. He paused to look down at the two girls sitting in the front row, both beaming with pride. Margaret sat between them, tears streaming down her face as she listened to the man who had become so much more than their rescuer. These two incredible children have taught me about resilience, courage, and the power of hope, Marcus continued. They've shown me that healing happens not just through professional intervention, but through community support, consistent presence, and unconditional love. Rex and I are better officers and better partners because of what we've learned from the Collins family. As the formal program concluded, the evening transformed into a community celebration. Children played games while adults shared stories and made connections that would support ongoing efforts to help missing children and their families. Rex moved through the crowd like a veteran therapy dog, accepting pets and praise while keeping a watchful eye on Emma and Lily. The fundraising portion of the evening exceeded all expectations, raising enough money to fund search equipment for local law enforcement agencies and therapy services for dozens of families. But perhaps more importantly, the event had created a network of supporters who would continue working together to support missing children and their families. As the evening wound down, Mrs. Hartwell approached Margaret with a special request. "I've been thinking about this for months," the elderly woman said. "I want to establish a scholarship fund for Emma and Lily's education. What they've been through has given them wisdom beyond their years, and I believe they'll grow up to make significant contributions to helping other children." The offer was both generous and meaningful, representing the lasting impact that the rescue had had on everyone involved. Mrs. Hartwell had gone from being a concerned neighbor to being an integral part of the Collins family's extended support network. 2 years later, Emma would begin volunteering with the local search and rescue organization, working alongside Marcus and Rex to train new canine teams. Lily would start a program at her school to teach younger children about safety and community awareness. Margaret would complete her certification as a victim advocate, using her experience to help other families navigate the aftermath of trauma. Marcus and Rex would continue their police work, but with an expanded mission that included therapy and victim support. Their success with the Collins family had inspired similar programs in police departments across the state, multiplying the impact of their innovative approach to law enforcement. But on this anniversary evening, as the community center emptied and the Collins family prepared to go home together, the focus was simply on celebrating how far they had come and looking forward to the positive impact they would continue to have on their community. Emma hugged Rex goodbye, as she did every night, whispering her gratitude for his role in finding her and helping her family heal. Lily gave Marcus her traditional goodnight hug, secure in the knowledge that her protector would be just down the hall if she needed him. And Margaret watched her daughters with the profound relief of a mother who had gotten her children back and seen them not just survive but thrive. The nightmare that had begun on a playground nearly 2 years earlier had been transformed into a story of hope, resilience, and the extraordinary things that become possible when communities come together to protect their most vulnerable members. As they drove home that night, Rex riding in his familiar spot in the passenger seat while the Collins family followed in their car, Marcus reflected on how dramatically his life had changed since that November morning when he had first heard crying from a basement window. He had set out to rescue 2 lost children and had ended up finding a family